Hey guys, Jody here, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, I'm Jody, and on my channel I talk about Broadway and books. And in today's video I'll be talking about Broadway, where I continue my Broadway show series where I talk about every Broadway show I ever saw over the 20 years I was seeing Broadway shows on a regular basis. So as per usual with the series on my channel, I will talk about who was in the cast at the performance I saw, who was on the creative team, any favorite songs or moments I had from the show, how I liked the show itself, and anything interesting I may find in the playbill along the way. So without any further ado, let's get on to today's video. But before I get into today's video, I'm filming this video on Thanksgiving, so I just wanted to say happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I hope you had a great day and ate lots of amazing food and, enjoyed yourself. And I just wanted to say also thank you to anyone who's ever tuned into my channel, whether it be you watched any of my videos, liked any of my videos, commented on any of my videos, or have subscribed to my channel. It does mean so very much to me, and I just wanted to say thank you to all of you, and it just means so much to me, like I said. So now without any further ado, once again, let's get on to today's video. So today I'll be talking about the 10th Broadway show I ever saw on Broadway, which was a stage adaptation of the very well-known novel Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. So I saw a musical version of Jane Eyre the musical. I saw this in April of 2001 at the Brooks Atkinson Theater, which is now called the Lena Horne Theater, current home to Six the Musical. But yeah, this was my 10th show. And per usual with the series, I will now get on into what is in the playbill. Okay, so there's the page with the credits. Let's see if my camera focuses. My camera tends to go in and out of focus with these videos, so, hopefully it doesn't go out of focus. But there's the cast. And before I get into, if I remember seeing any of these performers in other shows since my time seeing Jane Eyre, because I've seen many shows since then, and it's fun to look back on these playbills and see who you saw when you saw it, if you forgot. But I did see somebody was out of my performance. It says, at this performance, the ensemble role, usually played by Elizabeth Degrassi, will be played by Erica Schroeder. And there's the little thing, understudy slip, I should say. Yeah, love understudies because they help the show go on. Okay, so let's see who is in this cast that, maybe I recognize someone who I forgot was in it, or have, seen them in other shows since. The only performers' names that stand out to me are Mary Stout. Let's see who she played. She was in the show, and she played Mrs. Fairfax. So her name sounds very familiar to me. I for some reason feel like I've seen her in Beauty and the Beast. I think I probably did. I forget exactly. I saw Beauty and the Beast 3 times, so it's been a while since I looked in the playbills again. So, but for some reason that name stands out to me. And Stephen R. Bontrock, his name sounds very familiar to me too. I feel like I'm thinking I maybe saw him in the Oklahoma revival in 2002, but I think he's done a lot of Broadway. Oh, I think A Little Night Music as well. Much later than that. I think that musical I saw in the 2010s time, but his name sounds familiar to me. And last but not least, a performer who I didn't see in any Broadway shows since I saw them in Jane Eyre, but they've gone on to do a lot of television work, and the name might sound familiar to you because they've been on a very popular show since their time at Jane Eyre, and that's Marguerite McIntyre. She played Miss I can't pronounce the name, but she was in the show. She played like 2 different parts, I think, 2 different roles. And yeah, she has gone on to, I believe, she was in The Vampire Diaries, which is a huge show. I love that show. I fell behind on it after season 4 or 5. Definitely a show I have to get back to one of these days. But she was also on another show called Kyle XY on, I guess at the time it was called ABC Family. I think that channel's now called Freeform. But that's super cool that I saw someone in Vampire Diaries in Jane Eyre. So yeah. Now on to the creative team. Let's see if I recognize any of these people's names. Seen them any of their other work and shows since then. Nobody's name is really standing out to me as though I have seen them in other, seen their work in other shows since I saw their work in Jane Eyre, I guess you could say. The only two names that sound familiar to me are Jules Fisher and Peggy Eisenhower. They did the lighting design, and I feel like they get nominated like every year for a Tony Award. So I forget which other shows they have done off the top of my head, but their names are like always being like they're always being nominated for a Tony Award. And I feel like they've won a Tony Award or two, but that's the only name from the creative team that stands out to me. Now for how I like the show. So I really, really liked Jane Eyre. I really liked it. It was a very dark, very intense, atmospheric show. And I feel like as far as like the costume design and the lighting design and the set design, it was all so perfect for the time period and it was all so well done. And, you know, I just remember really liking the show. I at the time that I saw the show, I hadn't yet got into reading again. So I never actually like I didn't read the book before I saw the show. I kind of just went to the show because someone was doing a bus trip for it, and it was like, yeah, I love Broadway now. I want to see as many shows as possible. Sign me up. So, you know, that's the reason behind a lot of the shows that I saw in the very early beginning of me seeing Broadway shows. If someone was doing a bus trip for it, I would just see whatever. And sometimes you come away liking the show and sometimes not, but I really liked this show. I remember really liking the show and having a great time at it. And what else do I want to say? Yeah, it was just a really great show. Oh, I wanted to say, you know, if you have read the novel and you have seen the show, how did you think the two compared to one another? Like, did you think the musical lived up to the book? Yeah, I'd just love to know. And also, should I read Jane Eyre? You know, when it comes to books, I tend to pick more current titles to read. You know, books that last, you know, few decades or so, I guess you could say, versus like the classics. I think the only classic I ever read was A Picnic at Hanging Rock. I think it's a classic at least, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I didn't really like that book, but I think I should have read it in one sitting, and that's why. Okay, so now for like any maybe musical numbers that I remember from the show that, you know, I like to share that I liked. Yeah, the musical number list is right here. There were a lot of songs in it, you know, decent amount of songs. And I saw this show quite a while ago, so as far as the score, I remember the score being very good and like very intense, like I said, because the show was very intense as well. But yeah, I remember liking the score. I don't remember like all the musical numbers, because the good and the bad with seeing a lot of shows is, the good is you get to see a lot of shows, and seeing Broadway shows is absolutely amazing. The bad, I guess you could say, is sometimes, you know, when it comes to musicals per se, you don't remember every song in the show, and that's just how it goes sometimes. I mean, maybe from your absolute favorites, but from shows that you liked, but maybe aren't a favorite, you know, you don't remember everything. But I do remember two songs in particular, Secret Soul and Sirens. I remember really liking those songs. I believe they performed Secret Soul on the Tony Awards, because I believe the show did get nominated for a few Tony Awards the year it premiered on Broadway. But yeah, those are the only songs I remember off the top of my head. But the score I remember being really good. And now for anything interesting. Well, actually, before I get into anything interesting I find in the playbill, what was really interesting about this musical was something happened with this show on Broadway that I've never seen with any other Broadway shows. And that is, the show was announced to close probably after the Tony Awards. I'm guessing they probably didn't. I don't remember if they won any Tony Awards that they were nominated for. But a lot of times when a show is nominated, you know, and doesn't win anything, the show usually closes after the Tony Awards are over, like maybe the next week or maybe a month or a week later or something like that. It doesn't last too much longer after that a lot of times. But I remember when the show was announced to close, like maybe the next day or so, it was announced that Alanis Morissette was going to donate like a bunch of money so to keep the show going, to keep the show running on Broadway. And I thought that was like so generous and so nice, and just something I have never seen ever happen to a Broadway show that, you know, was announced to close before. And the show got to have a little bit of an extended run on Broadway thanks to Alanis Morissette. So that's a bit of a Broadway fun fact for all of you. And I thought that was just like, it's just something I still remember to this day, because like I said, it's super unusual and stuff like that just doesn't happen. So I guess she was a super fan of the show. Like I said, it was a great show. Okay, so now for anything interesting in the playbill. spend those back on these playbills. It's like a time capsule for for Broadway. And there you go with, I saw it in April 2001. I probably said that in the beginning, but if I didn't, now you know. And I guess at the time, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was playing on Broadway. I do remember this when this was playing on Broadway. Gary Sinise was starring in the lead role, and Terry Kinney was directing the production. And what I thought was really interesting about the Tony Awards in the year of 2001 was they did something that maybe they did this before 2001, but I don't remember this happening since, at least, was, you know, a Broadway musical, well, that's nominated or not nominated, you know, the show that premiered in that season, they will perform a musical number on the Tony Awards. But you never see a play perform a scene from the plays that are nominated. And in 2001, on the Tony Awards, because I remember Gary Sinise performing a scene from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest at the Tony Awards, they had, I believe, scenes from Broadway plays that were nominated on the Tony Awards as well that year. And I thought that was great. And I really wish they would have continued that, or at least bring it back, because it's nice to see, like, you know, the plays get some acknowledgement just as much as the musicals. But I think that was the only year I can recall that ever happening. And also, like, I thought it was super cool to learn, because I didn't see this show, but Terry Kinney, like I said, directed it, and he's done a ton of television. I forget what shows he's been in, but that was cool to learn that as I re-looked at the playbill. And then there was a production of a Tom Stoppard play called The Invention of Love. I don't know if this was a new production of the show or a revival, but Richard Easton and Robert Sean Leonard were in it. I didn't see this show because in the beginning when I was seeing shows, I was mostly seeing musicals. So I didn't get to see I forget what my first play was. I guess I'll remind myself when I get to that point of the series when I talk about that. But yeah, they're understudy slip. Don't want to lose that. Yeah, and the article continues. Robert Sean Leonard is a performer I've always wanted to see in a play, because he did a lot of plays, like, probably for a while. I don't think he's done anything recently that I can recall off the top of my head. But like I said, in the beginning, I was seeing mostly musicals, and he's mostly known for doing stage plays. He was a replacement. I think he was the last performer to play the lead in the Music Man revival in the early 2000s. I didn't get to see that, though. But, yeah. I don't want to lose this understudy slip. I don't want to fall out the playbill, sorry. I don't know why I brought that up, but I think that might be the only thing interesting to me in the playbill. Oh, there's another thing. I did end up seeing Kiss Me Kate. I'll talk about that 2 shows from now, because that's not my next Broadway show, but the show after that. But they do this thing in the playbill where they have, like, Broadway performers recommend their restaurants. And Burke Moses is actually in the lead of Kiss Me Kate, one of the leads of Kiss Me Kate when I saw it. I guess I'll talk about that when I talk about that a few shows from now. But he was recommending a restaurant. He's right there. And then Michelle Lee was also recommending some restaurants. And I don't think I've ever seen Michelle Lee in a Broadway show, but she's done a lot of Broadway shows as well. And yeah, that's it for anything interesting in the playbill. And I will tell you when my next Broadway show is, because, you know, there's all the shows listed here. And this show had not yet begun, which is super cool to see it, like, you know, it says previews begin Wednesday, April 4th. And 42nd Street will be the next show I talk about. It's right there. And, yeah, can't wait to talk about that, because that was an amazing Broadway show. I want to say, was it my first Broadway revival? No, Cabaret was. So it was probably my second Broadway revival for a show that I have ever seen on the Broadway stage. And yeah, that's it for today's video, where I talked about my 10th Broadway show, which was the musical Jane Eyre. Let me know in the comments, you know, if you ever saw Jane Eyre on Broadway. If so, how did you like it? What are your thoughts and feelings on it? And also, let me know if you've ever read the book and also seen not only Jane Eyre on Broadway, but any production of Jane Eyre. How do you think the novel compared to the show, and would you recommend it for me to read? You know, like, I like the show, I'll probably like the book, right? But yeah. So that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so very much for watching, and until next time, bye.